Welcome back to the Today with Tally podcast. Look, folks, we've got a great guest joining us on today's program. But first,
hello, friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of Today with Tally. The mission and goal of this podcast is to bring an engaging conversation that will add value to the lives of everyday people. We will inspire, encourage, educate, and tell the stories of America's finest men and women in an effort to motivate you to live your life to its fullest potential. Be sure to follow us on social media and search Today with Tally. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and share the program as well. Ladies and gentlemen, your host of the evening, Mr. Brian Tally.
hello and welcome back. I'm Brian Tally. I'm your host for the Today with Tally podcast. And before we bring in our next guest, I want to set this up. Now, Kniss is based out of Nebraska. He is the founder of Doose Outfitters Ministry, as well as an Air Force veteran. What they do is they pride themselves with healing our veterans, past and present, through the message of the cross and their outdoor hunting adventures. They provide hunting, they provide art therapy, and very soon they will be providing equine healing. And with that, we are honored to be joined by Pastor Kniss. How are you, sir?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, man. Another day, another podcast.
Absolutely. We're upright, so that's a bonus.
Right. Now, Pastor Kniss, safe to say I can call you Pastor Kniss?
You can call me Preach. Everybody calls me Preach.
Preach. All right. Preach. You started Doose Outfitters Ministry, and I want to know what was the motivation behind it? What inspired you to say, you know what, I'm going to start a 501c3 and this is my vision and this is what we're going to do?
Ultimately, what it boils down to is the suicide epidemic that's running rampant through both our veteran and active duty military communities. They, as you know, the number 22 is thrown around very lightly. And the reality of it is, after the first go around of COVID, I think we were up to between 140 and 150 suicides a day between both active duty and veteran. And that's just unacceptable. As you know, being a veteran yourself, that, the ultimate sacrifice is being willing to put your life on the line for people you don't even know. And with that being said, we just wanted to make an impact. We wanted to try and help other veterans to understand that when they're in that moment of non on the end of a 9mm, that it's just a moment. It's not what they're going through isn't going to last. And there's people out there that do care. There's people out there that those individuals matter to. And ultimately, their life is priceless, not only to those individuals, but to God. And so, we've just got to get that message across and get in front of as many veterans as we potentially can to try to affect their lives in a positive manner and help them to get through those battles with the demons that come for you in the middle of every night.
Mm-hmm. Did you yourself have any type of crisis moment over the years that inspired you to begin this Doose Outfitters?
My law enforcement experience, I have more. I dealt with some stuff from that really pushed me. And so, I had drug issues when I left law enforcement, alcohol issues. I was a member of the National Gang Task Force. And so, there were some personal things that occurred that led me down that rabbit hole that, I was at the bottom of the barrel looking up, thinking that there was no way out. And And that's when God introduced me to my wife and entered my life again. I guess, I was brought up in the church, but I walked away from it in my early 20s, and God just never gave up on me. And nor did my wife. The first 3 years we were married, she could have divorced me at any given time, and nobody would have blamed her because of all of my setbacks and addictions.
Mm-hmm.
So
ultimately, you were the man that you invite. You were the man. You once were the man of the veterans that you invite out to experience this fellowship and the outdoor outfitter ministry that you provide to veterans and law enforcement, past and present. Now, you said that you returned to the church. How long of a separation did you have there before you came back to the Lord and actually became a pastor yourself?
So I was in my mid-20s. I had been working for a cutting horse outfit down in Whitesboro, Texas, and I came back to visit my parents. And of course, it was a Sunday, and my mama, being the way she is, she asked me to meet him at church. And when I walked into the church and I looked above the chapel doors, there was a big sign that read, "God measures your love by your tithings." And at that moment, I lost my mind, and I walked away from the church. I was just disgusted with it. But that's what religion does. That isn't what Jesus wants. Jesus wants a relationship with you. So it's not about religion. It's about relationship. And that's what we as a team here at DOM really focus on, is creating healthy and long-lasting relationships. I didn't want to go into pastoral ship full time. I just wanted it to, be what it was, and God had other plans, and I wrestled with him, and ultimately he won the battle, and so here we are. We started the nonprofit, we started in 2015, and myself and Miss J, who is my wife, invested our life savings and our retirement into it to get it up and going. And by 2017, we became a registered nonprofit. Because we're faith-based, it took us a little longer than usual. From that point on, I think it took me, about another year and a half of training, and in extensive training under my head pastor, also seminary classes online, and which ultimately now I'm an ordained pastor, and I've been an ordained pastor for 6 or 7 years now.
Now, you had mentioned that you had dabbled in drugs and alcohol, during and after your law enforcement career, probably some traumatic type situations that you have endured. Now, over the last 8 years since you opened DOM, which is Doose Outfitters Ministry, have you found some sort of healing yourself with what your program provides to others that were going through the same situations as you were?
Absolutely. It's number one, I think that helping these individuals to realize that they are not the only one that experiences this trauma. It helps them to connect with somebody, as well as I do, that is war fighters, as men, that the last thing we want to do is appear to be weak. And we don't want to be judged for having mental health issues. That's been such a stigmata for so long, that and because of that, so many veterans, they don't try to gain that help. And I just I understood that, and that's why we came at him from the direction we did, is that we're family, and I tell people this, like I'll tell you, the first time that we talk, you become family to us, and there's nothing we won't do for you or try to help you get through. And quite honestly, that's what most individuals that battle PTS or CSD or anxiety or high depression are looking for, is a family that is similar to what they're going through. So there is no judgment, and that they can just talk to and not feel like they're being judged. And that's half the battle right there, is knowing that there's somebody there that's just there to listen. We're not there to save the world. We're there to listen. And if you want our opinion, we'll give it to you, and you can take our opinion in a quarter and go have a really bad cup of coffee. It's an opinion is just that. All we can do is offer life experience and what's helped us, and encourage them to try what it is that has helped us. They have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Mm-hmm.
The outdoors is a perfect healing situation, because you're out there when the sun's coming up, so you're watching the world wake up. You can't deny there's a God when you're watching a sunset, or a sunrise, and in the same with a sunset. You're watching the world shut down for the night on a ridge or in a duck blind, or hopefully very soon horseback. And you just can't deny that there is a God, and that He does care about you.
Mm-hmm. Very well said. Now, you are in this business, if you will, a nonprofit, but still, I mean, you got to, run it and operate it like, a business. You've got, money in, money out. You've got to set up all these, events. You've got to set up, people coming in, the veterans coming in. And ultimately, the goal here is suicide prevention. And I want to talk, I want to talk about your program, over at Doose Outfitters Ministry, that you call DOM for short, which is a great acronym, by the way. Now, how does your program work? Say you're a veteran in California, or you're in Texas or Florida, and you come across Doose Outfitters Ministry, and you say, I want to go hunt. I want to go hunt in Nebraska. How does that veteran participate in what you offer?
Just give us a call. Call us. Ultimately, what we will ask is for you to send us a copy of your DD-214. We'll just sit down and visit a little bit, get to know each other, and explain how our program works, that we are 100% donation based. We do not charge any fees to the veterans. So their meals are provided by us. My wife prepares meals, and we do have lodging available if they choose to use it. And then we do reimburse the veterans for their hunting licenses and tags once they get here to camp. Mm-hmm. And so really the only expense that they have is getting here.
And what's your phone number? How can people contact you?
So you can either reach out to me by calling me personally at 308-641-2162, or email me at Doose Outfitters, the number 2 doose@gmail.com. I ask that if you call me, you send me a text message first, because if you're not in my phone as a contact, it will send you to my voicemail automatically. So if you can text message me, send me your name and what you're inquiring about so I can put you in my phone, and I'll tell you I'm free right now, or give me 20 minutes or whatever, give me a holler. That's all it is. It's about conversation, and it's about building relationship. And those are scripture tells us to be mindful of where we store our treasures. And so many people focus on chasing the dollar bill. And, Ms. J and I haven't taken a paycheck since, well, as long as we've been in this ministry. Everything goes back into it. And with that being said, the most valuable thing to God is the human life. And so, we do our due diligence to impact lives and to invest in lives, and just to try to impact those people that are hurting and so bad that they feel their only option is suicide.
Mm-hmm. Now, folks, Doose Outfitters Ministry is located in Gering, Nebraska on the beautiful North Platte River. They offer hunting, turkey, antelope, whitetail deer, goose, duck hunting, you name it. You can do bow hunting, rifle, shotgun, are all welcome out there on their grounds. Now, when you have veterans coming into your program, are they at a breaking point? Are they crisis? Are they at that crisis moment, or have they already kind of overcame that breaking point and that crisis, if you will, and they're just out there to experience what your program is like, or are these guys showing up completely broken and you're there to help repair them?
It's a combination of both. We get returning veterans quite often. But also we get that veteran that's never been here before. And quite in the past, we've had veterans that, coming to see us was going to be their last hurrah. And then they were going to go home and end it. And by the grace of God, we were able to impact that individual enough that, we were able to help him to understand that you exiting this world isn't the answer. All it does is impact your wheelhouse that is around you even worse than what it is that you're going through. And there's a staggering statistic that 1 out of every 3 children who have a veteran parent that commits suicide is willing to commit suicide themselves. And so, at that point, we're looking at a generational curse, and it's something that we're standing in the gap saying, no, we're not going to allow this to happen. This isn't acceptable.
Mm-hmm. How many veterans would you say have successfully gone through your program?
313. We've hosted 315. We lost one 2 years ago, right before Christmas. And that was because his wife chose to serve him with divorce papers at that time and sole custody of his children. And the other one was 2 years ago in July. And we don't even know what triggered that. And I had to conduct the funeral on that one. And that was probably one of the toughest days of my life, short of losing our next youngest daughter, March 25th of this year.
I'm very sorry to hear that. Now, Do you ever sit down with these veterans and just do one-on-one counseling with them, kind of in between the fun stuff, between the hunting and the fishing and the art therapy that you do, and soon to be equine healing as well, that you guys are going to be soon to start providing to these veterans? Do you ever sit down and ask them the whys, why they feel the way they do, and why they consider suicide? Because I think that that's very important to kind of take note of, because if we could figure out what the root cause of the problem is on why a lot of these veterans are committing suicide, we could be there, and kind of fill that gap, like you were saying, and intervene before that crisis event happens. Because once that crisis event happens, that's where a lot of things will blow up. There could be jail, there could be the ultimate suicide taking place. It could be a crime. It could be so many things that could happen during that time of crisis when that veteran is not thinking, in a way that, would be, he just not thinking clearly. So what have veterans told you as a pastor? Have they opened up and have told you and explained to you the whys?
Well, we asked them to volunteer, first of all, that we know what they want to tell us. We don't want to lean in and press them and make them uncomfortable, because that can always trigger something. But, a lot of it is, number one, the VA. They don't feel that they matter to the VA. They feel that all the VA wants to do is create a bunch of walking zombies. They miss belonging to something bigger than themselves. They miss that camaraderie. Some guys, when you've been a war fighter for over half your life, there's guys that miss that adrenaline rush, and life just, as well as I do, coming out and entering into the civilian world, it's a whole different ball game. There's no structure. Everybody's out for themselves. You don't have that guy on your left that you're taking care of and the guy on the right that's taking care of you. And so all of those are trigger points, or they lead up to those trigger points. And then, of course, the medication that probably 98% of every veteran is on, it doesn't work. It doesn't change anything. And so quite often that leads to self-medication, and whether that be higher levels of pharmaceutical drugs or street drugs or high volumes of alcohol, and you start mixing that with, all the other medications that you're on, you're mixing yourself a combination that, it's either going to send you over the edge or it's going to end your life. And
Yes.
Ultimately for us, it's helping them to understand that the holes that you're feeling, all the drugs, all the alcohol, all the pornography, all the promiscuity, all the strip clubs, none of that stuff is going to heal you. But the love of Christ, the grace of Christ, and the mercy of Christ will. And if you will just give him a chance, you will notice those wounds start to heal and restoration start to take place.
Yeah, they come in as remnants, and they leave, with that rational type thinking, again, and to put them back on that path to success, but like I said, the remnant,
and I think, we have to be honest too. I mean, probably 95% of every individual that joins the military has come from a jacked up phone or home life. And they're looking for structure in their life. They're looking to try to better themselves. And the military is the only avenue that they can see at that point in time. So going in, they're all messed up. And when they come out, half the time they're more messed up than they were when they went in mentally.
That's a good point. 165 episodes that I have done. I would say that, and I'm not making this stuff up. It's like 85 to 90% of the veterans that I've had on this show grew up without a father or a father figure in their life,
Absolutely.
and they are looking for that camaraderie and that mentorship and that father figure in their life. And that's why so many young men join the military, because they don't have that structure. They know that they want to be successful, but they don't know how to get there. They don't have that blueprint. And so by joining the military, that blueprint is now readily available in their hands, and they're seeing it, and they're feeling it, they're touching it, and they're living out, what they want to do in life. And it's not going to always be easy, but that's where growing up and becoming a man really
embrace the suck.
Right. That's where it all, that's where it all happens. Now, we know that you're a big hunter and that you offer that outdoor, therapy and that adrenaline therapy when you're out hunting. And again, you're out breaking bread with like-minded individuals, other veterans, sharing stories, out in the blind, out hunting and fishing, where the real healing happens. Now, you also provide art therapy. Now, you say that art therapy provides emotional relief while assisting in the alleviation of depression and anxiety, as well as reality orientation improvement. Could you explain this, please?
It's just basically you're letting the emotions control the art, the flow of the art. And so rather than verbally expressing your feelings and your emotions, you're just putting it down on canvas. And my wife is the one that handles that part of the program, and it's a technique called pouring. And basically what you do is you put layers of paint in a cup, and then you take it and you pour it on this canvas. And then as you move the canvas around, it creates this piece of art. And it's amazing what some of these pieces of art come out looking as, and you can pick things out of them. It's crazy. You're not trying to create an image, but a lot of times you can find images within this piece of art. And, by doing that, it opens guys' eyes. I think it opens their minds and their hearts a little bit. And, then that opens up the door to have conversation.
Will the art depict how they're feeling at that moment?
By the colors, I think I would have to say it does. I think the darker the colors that an individual uses kind of depicts where they're at in an emotional and a mental state, but then on the other side of that, you can approach them 2 days later or 3 days later and have them redo that same piece of art, and the whole color scheme changes. And it's because they've been given hope. They've been given the recipe for hope, I guess is how we could phrase it. And it's just one of those things that works. It's a way to express what you're feeling and what you're going through.
Mm-hmm. Take just a quick 30-second break here and go ahead and shout out today's show sponsor is Rocky Mountain Electric, based in Colorado Springs, Colorado, a trusted and very well respected and well-known authority in the electrical contracting industry. People say, Brian, who do you know? I need a contractor in Colorado Springs. I need an electrical guy. And I say Rocky Mountain Electric. Jason Kelly is the president, CEO, owner of Rocky Mountain Electric. And again, they remain an industry leader and a top performer in residential and commercial electrical work on the Front Range. If you need somebody, if you're in the Colorado Springs metro area or surrounding areas of the Pikes Peak region, go online today, RockyMountainElectric.org. That's RockyMountainElectric.org. Folks, he is a licensed contractor. You do not want to be fooling around with a gypsy operating out of the back of a pickup unless you want your house burnt down. Call the professionals today over at Rocky Mountain Electric. Jason Kelly is the man at running this show. It is, again, an industry leader in everything that he does and his team that he has surrounded himself with. Go check him out online today, RockyMountainElectric.org. That's RockyMountainElectric.org. Now, folks, we are with Pastor Kniss. He is the founder of Doose Outfitters Ministry, as well as an Air Force veteran. He is based in Nebraska, in the great state of Nebraska. Go Big Red. Now, when your veterans show up and to hang out for the week or the weekend or whatever it may be that you offer when you have these groups come in for the healing, if you will. When they show up, do they have a certain demeanor about them versus when they leave?
Yeah, definitely. You can see when they first arrive, they're hesitant, they're a little closed off, and they'll posture that. But it's crazy because Ms. J is not a handshaker. She's a hugger. And so the minute that they cross the threshold coming into the house, I mean, they're greeted with a big warm hug and a welcome to our family and your family now. And we can't wait to get to know you and you know, spend some quality time with you, breaking bread and fellowshipping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, because I've had a lot of these nonprofits on, and, people always say, you know what, when they show up, and it doesn't matter what it is, it's outdoor adrenaline therapy. It could be biblical based. It could be anything. I mean, like I've told people many times on this program, that there's no better time to be a veteran in this country. There are so many nonprofits just like yours that are out there and designed to help put an end to veteran suicide. And they always say, look, when these veterans show up, they're quiet. They are reserved. They're standoffish. They're shy. And then when they leave, they're a completely different person, as if those couple of days or that week of healing really did set into them. And additionally, I mean, you're faith-based as well as the hunting and the fishing aspect of it, and the outdoors and the art therapy, and soon to be equine therapy. Would you agree that that would be correct for Dom as well?
Oh, absolutely. Now granted, I end up talking to these veterans usually multiple times before they ever come out, just because they have questions for me. And so before they get here, we have an established relationship, but I think what I can't say that it separates us, but I think probably one of the most important aspects is the follow-up. I'm available to them 24/7, 365. So we're not a one stop and that's it. It's continued follow-up. It's continued conversations. It's making yourself available at 3 a.m. if they're battling demons. and that's what a brother does. And I think if we all would take that approach, we could make a serious impact. Here in Nebraska, we've teamed up with 3 different nonprofits. Jason Steiner with Hero Stock, and Jesse with Wheels for Warriors, and Steve Hogan with Hogan Outdoor HD. And we've kind of all committed to working together, because it seems like a lot of nonprofits are so concerned with the money aspect of it. And if we would just all work together and not worry about the financials of things, we'd be more impactful, especially in the state of Nebraska. It's, if you lose your focus on why it is we're doing what we're doing, why do it? When it becomes about yourself and not about the veteran, you're not going to make an impact.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. I see a lot of 501c3s out there that are constantly competing with one another. It's like, you guys are on the same team, same mission, same goal. And working together is a very, very good idea. And again, I mean, it shouldn't be competition. There's 20.2 million American veterans out there, and there's plenty of different nonprofits that people can donate to. And what you provide is different than what Hero Stock provides and what Wheels for Warriors provides.
Absolutely.
So again, you guys are a directory, if you will, and you're saying, hey, look, if I can't help you, I know someone that will. Let me give you a trusted authority that I know, somebody that's well vetted, and that's someone that's going to follow through on helping you.
And that's the key part is having that reputation and being vetted, so people realize that your walk and your talk match up. And so we have a very, very small circle of close individuals, but every one of those individuals they're a veteran. They have a relationship with Jesus, and every one of them has battled suicide at one point. So everybody that is within our inner circle as a team, but then within our outer circle is the organizations that we work with, they all have the same belief system that we do. And I think that's important. You've all got to be on the same page with what you're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said something very godly, and it really jumped out at me, and it's being available, making yourself available. I mean, there's so many biblical verses with that in there, whether it's songs or it's directly from scripture, of being available, making yourself available to those in need. Now, you have done that. Does a lot of the phone calls that you get, like at the 3 a.m.s where you've got a veteran on the other line that may have a pistol, that is drinking heavily, and they reach out, perhaps that call for help, if you will, does that happen more before the program is initiated, or do people kind of relapse sometimes and need to come back and see you?
Oh, we get return visitors all the time, but it's, once again, it's follow-up, it seems like the majority of talking them off the ledge is before they come through our program. After that, It's more about, can you direct me to scripture, or can you pray with me or over me, or do you have an opening that I can get back out there to see you? I need to experience that again.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say that the majority of the being on the ledge, if you will, happens before they get out here to see us. And I truly believe that, we're in a position right now where we have all the dots connected for the equine therapy program, but we're in a position right now to where we're trying to raise the money to purchase the facility, and we have to come up with probably right around 300,000 for the down payment. And so we're beginning a campaign to raise that money. October 7th, we're having a gala event that Hooves, which will be the organization that certifies us in equine healing. They're based out of Ohio. Amanda Held is the founder. She's a veteran that struggled with suicide. She'll be doing a Zoom presentation, but also there will be a lady here that will be doing a presentation for Hooves as well. And then Mantle's Wild Horse Ranch will be here in order to do a presentation as well. And then I believe that both Hero Stock and Wheels for Warriors will be at our event, just so people can see what it looks like to have people, this like-minded individuals, engaged in the same battle. And they're not beating each other up in order to do it.
Sure. Yeah. Again, that's working together, again, that one common goal. And again, that's to prevent veteran suicide. Now, folks, if you would like to donate to Doose Outfitters Ministry, they are a recognized 501c3 nonprofit with an EIN number. And all you got to do is go online to donate today at DooseOutfittersMinistry.com. That's DooseOutfittersMinistry.com. And with a lot of those funds coming in, these folks are going to be creating a new program that they can offer out to veterans, and that is equine therapy, equine healing. And I have done it several times, and there is a certain connectivity between a human and a horse that is very healing. And let me tell you, if you've never done it before, I definitely highly recommend you find one in your local area. If you're a veteran or a first responder, or even if you're just a civilian out there that you may be going through some tough times, equine healing is for everybody. And it is very soothing. It's very healing. And again, a horse can pick up on how you feel. A horse can feel the depression. It could feel the anxiety. It could feel the good vibes. It could feel the bad vibes. And again, it's all about the connectivity between you and that animal. Is something that you really can't explain unless you are actually living it out in the present, in the moment time, where that healing takes place. Now, how often are you? Now, what do you call this when you have is it a retreat? Is it a class? Is it a weekend? What do you call this? And how often do you have these?
We operate 24/7. And I don't call it any of those things. I just call it getting together with a friend, getting together with, it's just a gathering of like-minded individuals, depending on what we're hunting, it's usually only 2 or 3 veterans in camp at a time. We try to keep the numbers low so they're more personable. And so a veteran not only creates a relationship with us, but they can create a relationship with another veteran that's going through this, similar things. One of the the worst things I think we can do is say, dude, I get it. I've been there. I've experienced it, and I know right where you're at. That's a really, really dangerous thing to say, and that can push someone over the edge because we don't know. We don't know what an individual is feeling. I don't have that capability, but I can empathize with them, and I can say, you know what, I've had to go through similar things. This is how they affected me, and I'm here to help you get through it because we don't know. Brian, I don't know what you went through. I don't know what you go through every night. I don't know what your triggers are, but I know what mine are, and I know how they affect me. And you just have to have an empathetic heart, and you've got to be willing to sometimes just shut your mouth and open your ears and just listen. That's the best thing we can do. That's why God gave us one mouth and two ears.
Now, even as a pastor, you go through your own daily struggles.
I'm just a man. I'm no different than you. I just have a different job. It's a job. I'm no better than you. I'm no worse than you. I'm a man that struggles with sin, but I have a relationship with Jesus. I get, it seems like so often, and this is why we don't consider ourselves a church, because it seems like so often the pastor of a church, I don't like the way they put themselves up above the congregation, just by where they're positioned at in a church. And so even when I do speaking engagements, I'll pull a chair down on the same level with an audience and sit down and just have a conversation with them like you and I are doing, because I'm not any better than you. We're two men that are going through things that we're just trying to be there for each other and help each other out.
What type of advice and encouragement could you offer our listeners today, Pastor?
For somebody who's struggling, or for somebody who wants to help?
Both.
For somebody who's struggling, you're not in this alone. It may feel like it, but you're not. There are people out there that care, and all you got to do is reach out to them. There's no shame. It's okay to be not okay, because we're all broken to some degree. And don't let pride cause you to do a 2-second reaction that's going to affect your well-being for the rest of your life and affect your wheelhouse for the rest of their lives. Call somebody, because there are people that you matter to. You may not know them, but there is somebody out there, that I believe truly that there's no such thing as coincidence. What there is God ordained appointments. And if you're somebody that just wants to help, that wants to be there, don't claim to have the answers. That isn't gonna, and don't pry. It seems like a lot of people, rather than listening, they start asking questions that send that individual back into where they're trying to get out of. Don't pry. Don't ask prying questions. Just ask them, how can I help? Whatever you need to say it to me, and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen. And if you need to cry, cry. If you need to be pissed off and yell and scream, then do it. I'm here to listen and support you. But don't claim to have the answers, because none of us do.
Very good advice. Very good advice indeed. And I think so many 501c3s, again, are out there to help the broken, veterans, if you will, and to turn that remnant into something new and fresh and clean and a new start and, new beginnings and new life, being reborn, if you will. Now, it is so hard to find these broken veterans because a lot of the times they don't want to be contacted. They're self-isolating for a reason. How do we find those in need? How do you find those in need?
Things like this podcast, podcasts right now are probably the leading way to communicate with what it is with your programs, and just putting it out there, constantly using your social media to share your story as to what it is your organization does. But the one thing I do have to say is, if you claim to do something, or you've got to follow through. So if you claim that you're faith-based, like we are, you've got to follow through with that. The message that you're sharing is the message of salvation. That alcohol isn't the right answer. So we are dry. We don't allow alcohol. We don't promote alcohol. So whatever it is that you're claiming, the talk that you're talking needs to match up with your walk. Because I think that in the past, there's been organizations that it didn't match, and more damage was done than good. And I think that's why we're seeing so many grassroots organizations come up, because they understand the value in a man's word, and they understand the value in a handshake, and they understand the value in what relationship really means.
Yeah, these smaller 501c3s are excellent. I mean, it's almost as if it's a town hall. Again, you've got that one-on-one relationship. And again, one of the things that stands out is the follow-up and the follow-through. When you come through my program, you're not just going to be sent home and just be another check. We just helped another veteran. This is something that's going to be long term. This is something that's going to turn into a relationship. So if they ever do have a problem moving forward, they know that they can feel free to reach out to you, or perhaps it could be that other veteran that they met while they were at your program. So again, this is all about forging relationships, and iron sharpens iron.
It's about trust. You have to establish trust, and that's what every relationship is based on. So if you can't, and even with the equine healing, your relationships are based with trust, whether it's a human relationship or whether it's a relationship with an animal. It's about trust. Once you can establish that trust and that line has been drawn, then real healing can take place. Sometimes the real healing doesn't take place until they've left. And then all of a sudden, maybe 3 or 4, a week, a month later, you get a phone call and it's like, hey, preach, I'm not in risk, but I want to thank you because you impacted my life. You changed the way I thought. You changed the way I'm feeling. And I can't thank you enough. Or on the same token, 2 days after they leave, it can be they're on the ledge again and they're crying for help. So it's about communication. It's about trust. It's about dependability. It's about reliability. It's about honesty. It's about transparency. All of those things are what creates that bond of trust.
Sure. And once you have that trust established, again, that's when the vulnerabilities can come out. And then that's where the real counseling and the help. And that's where being an ordained pastor can really come in, because you can preach the Bible, right? You can go through these verses and actually show these veterans, look, this is what you're experiencing. And if you're ever going through the doubt or the anxiety or the depression, here are some verses here that can help you out. But for now, let's go duck hunting. Let's go fishing. And again, when they get home, they can digest everything that happened, and they're going to think back and say, holy cow, that helped me so much, and I'm excited. And there's nothing better, there's nothing more powerful than a veteran that goes through a program such as yours, that comes home excited because they talk. And
it's not about standing over them and beating them with the Bible. Right. That's not going to help anybody. We've got to show grace. We've got to show compassion. We've got to show love. Because those are things that this veteran isn't seeing and feeling. And that's why he's standing on that ledge, and he's teetering. It can go either way. And a lot of times as a nonprofit, you're that safety net, or you're the one that's going to draw them off the ledge.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. And like I said, there's nothing more powerful than a veteran that goes through a program successfully, because if they do, they're going to tell everybody, and the word of mouth in the veteran community, which is a small community in the country, very tight-knit community, can say, hey, look, you got to go see Preach over at Doose, because he can definitely help you. And with that, look, I'm honored to have you on today's show. We sincerely appreciate everything you have done and continue to do within the military and veteran community. Your service, sacrifice, and dedication to our great nation is truly admirable.
Thank you. I hope you have a great week. And once again, if there's anybody out there that just needs an ear to listen to them, don't hesitate to give me a call.
Outstanding. And folks, you can reach Preach by going online today at DooseOutfittersMinistry.com. It's right there, DooseOutfittersMinistry.com. And you can also donate to this 501c3 recognized nonprofit. Even comes with an EIN, so you can write it off on your taxes. Donate today. Once again, DooseOutfittersMinistry.com. They offer a wide variety of healing for those nation's veterans that may be going through some tough times in their life. Hunting, art therapy, and soon to be equine healing, but most of all, making themselves available and helping veterans through the Bible. And every veteran does indeed get a Bible. Folks, don't forget to subscribe to the program. We are on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Facebook, and Twitter. Folks, it's never been easier to dial in and listen to these podcasts. We are making ourselves available, again, like Preaches. Now, folks, always remember, stay inspired, stay encouraged, stay motivated, and always stay in the fight. Until next time, for Today with Tally podcast, this is Brian Talley. Good night